Hello, MotorsportReg organizers. This is Tim from the MotorsportReg Customer Success Team, back for another installment of the Form Builder how-to videos. In this video, we'll dive into the form layout section, what we see here in the middle. This will be the format of what the actual registration form will look like once folks click through your event description and actually get to the registration form itself. So that's actually what you'll see in the preview over here on the right-hand panel when you first come over to the Form Builder page. Everything works pretty much the same in the new version of Form Builder, just has different visuals that are a little bit more advanced on here, but everything works the same as far as the preview being used as like a test bed. You can use that on either one. For the sake of the demonstration, we'll use the classic style form builder for this one, and I'll show you how some of the drag and drop features work a little bit different in the new version. I'd say that's the main difference between the two. But we'll first start with the difference between groups and branches. So you can make those right here in the form layout section by clicking the green plus. And here we can make a group, a branch, or a text block. Text blocks being a premium only feature. So if you have a standard account, you won't be able to use that currently. So let's go ahead and make a branch since we haven't used one of those yet. We are currently using a group for the choose your entry on this track day event. And the difference group makes it where you choose one of the following options below. So say that works well for your entry, like choosing a Saturday entry, a Sunday entry, or a combined full weekend entry. It works well for choose one of those following. Versus the branch here, we'll use it in this case for your lunch choice. I already pre-built some pieces in the parts bin here. If you did want to solve the mystery of what this does, I did make a previous video on the parts bin, so be sure to check that out in our organizer playlist, and we'll have those available for you. But let's go ahead and take our three choices here for our actual meal options. And making these each their own product would make it easy to keep track of inventory for those once people do register and sign up. So let's reload that to make sure all our options show. There we go. So the difference with the branch is this one allows you to choose multiple below that in this category. So say in the choose your entry, the group, we click one and the rest of the options disappear. Whereas our choose your lunch choice, the branch, if we click on that, we can choose as many of these as we'd like. So say we could choose all three options, or we could choose none at all if we really wish to. And then over in the preview, you can still test all those out. And this will actually simulate the error messages. Say if you do miss a question or say don't pass validation or something like that, you will be able to test that ahead of time. There we go. And that's what it looks like when it goes through correctly. So next, let's take a look at the drag and drop options here. And that would all take place here on the layout section. So say I want to move the t-shirt option below the lunch. We'll just click and drag. And if you see this little red line, that'll move that piece above or below those choices. Or you can use the nesting option, which I'll show you that when we drag over these questions here. So say let's have some more of these that we want to use. How many events have you participated in? Rate your experience level. Let's use the red line to put that underneath our past track events. And then we'll have one that will nest here. So have you driven at the Milwaukee Mile before? And if you have, what was the last event that you attended? So what this will do, when I highlight it green, that'll nest it underneath, which means that if I answered that yes or no question as yes, now we'll be able to see this follow-up question. So how that works, yes. And now we see that one that will prompt you for what was the last event. So it's obviously, if you haven't been there before, you haven't been to a past event, so that question's not relevant to you at that point. And testing this out, we see that we do have to answer some questions here in order to make it work. Here we go. And let's say 4-6 events, and we'll say an intermediate driver. And there we go. So we can test as we go in this case. So let's go ahead and add a text block to see what that looks like. This is a feature that is unique to premium users only. And we'll just kind of put a basic title that we can drag and drop and put it at the very top here. And there we go. Now we added sort of a little heading to our registration form. This is good for adding any kind of tips and tricks. Like say if you have some more complex classes that say a new driver won't be super familiar with, like your own made up names rather than like a novice, intermediate, or advanced, which are pretty common. This is a good way to kind of describe those ahead of time before they go and do their actual event entry itself. So while we're here, we can take a look at some other things such as ways to limit options on the registration. So say we'll do that with this track day beginner choice that I built. We'll put that nested under our entry choices. So now we have an additional option here. But let's say that one that I want the track day beginner to only show for folks that I know are brand new. Let's say I've already used a member type for that we can limit by clicking on the piece itself in the form layout. And we'll use limit by type. We'll keep attendee available, and then beginner in this case. So that way anybody who's an experienced racer at my club won't see it. There we go. And now we can actually test that out in the preview as well. We'll use our preview options to select a beginner registration. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I missed it here. I might have to check off the attendee as well there. Okay, now it shows up right. Versus, if I do the racer, and let's see, it looks like it still shows up there. Let's make a little adjustment. We'll take the attendee one off, so you have to have beginner in order to see that. So now if you're both checked off as an attendee and a racer on your profile, we no longer see that beginner option. Oh, I see. I made the entry here, has that on it too. Let's select all for that. This is a great troubleshooting tool here to use the preview panel as well. There we go. Now our beginner option can see that. Perfect. All right, so the next thing that you could limit by here, we'll go back to our entry choices. There we go. Now that I can see those again. Let's say we want to make t-shirts available for members only. I already have a credential set up to account for Rogue Racing annual members. So say valid during registration, we'll use that. So now, say if I just come in here as a non-member, I won't be able to see that t-shirt option in there anymore. But, and I'm not sure that this will actually work since my profile doesn't have a current membership on it. So it likely won't show me in this case. But if I did apply that, oh, there we go. It did simulate it. Now you can see the t-shirt option. All right, great. So that's all working well so far. So we can also do date limiters on here as well. So say if you have to give your catering a good heads up of when that's going to be. If we have our August 19th event, say it has to be the week before that we give them a deadline for it. So let's put in August 12th for that date. So now for any registrations after August 12th, they won't be able to see that option on registration. So you see it today, but if we preview this as of a certain date on here, say August 15th, say it's a late last minute registration, we'll pull that up. And now you can see those lunch options are not there anymore. We can disregard that one that we won't be using now that we have more specific choices here. And preview still as of the 15th. Great. There we go. And now you don't see those sandwich choices anymore either, since it's past that date when you already had to give the catering their heads up. So now I've taken a look at that, the member types, credentials. The preview panel here you can use as your troubleshooting tool, so feel free to use that to test, make sure all these options work how you intend on registration. I always think it's best if you as the organizer find these problems before the actual attendees do, so that way it's the smoothest process and saves you some headaches down the road. So say if you did want to add in some validation to these, we can do that. Say on the entry level here, we can add validation rules such as, say, like you must have a membership in order to participate. So we'll use the membership as valid during registration. And then this is an if-then statement, part of every validation rule. So if you don't have a membership, if that's false, then you can either show error, like that. Let's test that out once. So I know my profile doesn't have a membership. So let's see what happens if I try to sign up for this. And there we go. There's no membership active on my MotorsportReg account. So it'll give you exactly that error message they mentioned. But if we want to do it like a lot of car clubs do, if they have like, say, a weekend membership available or something, in this case, we're even going to make it our whole annual membership that we'll put on there since it's inexpensive. So let's adjust that rule to match. We do have some other options as well. You can just make things simply unavailable on the registration. So say if somebody wasn't a first timer, we could use that make unavailable to make sure that, say, advanced drivers are not signing up for beginner. But in this case, we'll use the require to give us this little field of which piece do you want it to require if they're not a member. So we'll make it that Rogue Racing annual membership choice. All right, let's try to break it now and sign up without a membership. There we go. Choose your entry also requires selecting annual memberships. Let's go ahead and make that correction. Here we go. I checked it off. Everything else is still the same. And now I get through to checkout. So everything's working as it should at that point. And that's what the preview tool here within the form builder is great for. So let's take a quick look at the new style form builder. This one, the drag and drop features are a little bit different and perhaps a little bit more clear than what we see on the classic one. So say we'll click these and drag down the "Are you bringing a trailer?" question. We'll put it by the rest. There we go. And now you can pretty clearly see what level that's on. Even the nesting stuff is pretty cool to see in this. So say if we want to nest the rate your experience under the how many track events, you can see where that'll show up now. Let's see if I can refresh this. Select by member type. Let's say this is a racer one too. Okay. Say a co-driver entry. So now if we don't answer that how many past track events question, you won't see the one under it yet. Go. Excellent. So that all seems to work as it should. And you can also create the groups and branches in the new style form builder as well. It is located in a different spot though in this one. You'll actually go into the parts bin and you'll use this little part that's called collections here in order to make those. So this one does describe it pretty much the same. Pick one will make you the group. Pick many will build the branch, so we can choose multiple options, and you'll be able to see that accordingly. If you do have any other questions about the form layout or any of the form builder stuff, feel free to write into our email inbox anytime. That is support@motorsportreg.com. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care.